Welcome to Belgium for the 87th running of one of the oldest races in the world, round 4 of this year's World Cup, the Lieja-Bastogne-Lieja. 196 riders from 25 teams prepare for the grueling 161-mile race, which first took place way back in 1894. Belgium's Rick Verbrugge arrived on the back of a victory in the Flèche Wallonne last Wednesday. This race is 50 kilometers longer. How does he rate his chances? Well, he said there's a little difference between the Flèche Wallonne and this race today, about 50 kilometers to be precise, but I like this race and I'll do my very best to win. I made a lot of effort last Wednesday, but I think that physically I've recovered and I'm in peak form and ready for the challenge. Well, the name of Eddy Merckx is revered in these quarters. He won this race 5 times. The current Belgian champion is his son, Axel Merckx. Well, I'm sure I'm going to do well. We'll just take it easy and see how things go initially. But I'm sure of one thing. This race, like most of them, is going to be very, very tough. The weather conditions are great, though, and I love it when it's sunny. Well, Eric Zabel of the Telecom team, rider who won the World Cup last year, isn't riding today. All eyes will focus instead on Kazakhstan's Olympic bronze medalist Vinkurov, the fetching pink jersey. He says, well, of course, the race and victory are a goal for me. On the Flèche Wallonne, I wasn't feeling too well. I think I've overcome after a couple of days' rest the illness that I've had. I feel in better shape, and I'm going to do all I can to go out for victory. Well, what are the instructions that your team gave you this morning, Rudy Peverange? Well, it's always the same tactics, to try and follow the best riders as usual, just to stick in there, and at the end, if I feel good enough, I'll attack, and we'll just see where it goes, basically from there. Well, last year's winner of this race, who went on to win a stage in the Tour de France, was Paulo Batini. Does he think that he can repeat the feat this year? Well, last year it was one amazing day for me, absolutely incredible. This year, of course, I'm going to try and repeat the same thing. It would be a major feat for me to do so. We're starting in the #1 position, and of course I'm going to do everything within my power. The race is going to be tough. There are a lot of strong competitors, but I think this race really overall suits my style. I started this race, this classic, 3 years ago. In the last 2 years I was helped a lot by Bartoli, and last year I won. So this year, together with Bartoli, I think we've got everything together, and I'm sure we can win again. Well, another who had great success by winning here in 1997 and 1998 is the Italian champion Michel Bartoli. And who does he feel then are those to fear here today? Well, there are many in this field. Bugard, Casagrande, Rebellin, Verbrugge, to name just a few. These are the riders, though, that I think are going to provide us with the main difficulty. Our job is to fight against them, to stick with them to the critical point in this race, which I think is La Redoute. During the many years this race has been run, it's been decided here. So we're aware of what the potential pitfalls are, and we will be ready. Race then was delayed for some 20 minutes at the start by an industrial dispute, which sought that all-important media coverage, and he got it as well. So we get then to the start of the real test of endurance as the 196 riders jockey for position. Now, Belgians, Mark Striel is the man that we'll see first. He's been a pro since back in 1994. And perhaps as the race just begins to unfold, he should have maybe known a little better. After just 7 kilometers and with 10 sapping climbs to come, he breaks. So the ex-Belgian time trial champion lays down the challenge early, and it would be eaten up in a relatively short space of time. Well, with 88 kilometers to go, Striel is eventually caught after the climbs of one of Rocher and Leverquet. There had been many attacks, but none of the favourites, though, had yet made the move. 52 kilometres to go, and we're into the final 13 riders bunched together. And so then, as we take a look down the leaderboard, we're going to pick up the race commentary as live. And join our commentators, David Duffield and Sean Kelly.
That breakaway group of riders have got only about 40-odd seconds lead. People keep jumping across to join them. In fact, now it's got to 51, but it's enough for people to come across to join them. And they're going now, you can see, 42 kilometres of racing left towards the end of the race. When they go to the top of the Col de la Redoute, there were just 35 kilometres left. Mappe now leading the charge here. Last year's victor wears number 1. There's number 5 pulling back off the front, Andrea Noe. There is the Italian champion, Bartoli. And look at the great watch of Fassa Bartolo jerseys in the white and the dark blue shorts, then coming round about them and taking a bit of a tow as they go through here. What a well-drilled team those Mappe quick-step riders are too. Bettini, last year's victor, number 2 Bartoli, 3 Beltram is in that Mappe team too. Number 4 Paolo Lanfranchi, Andrea Noe is number 5, Luca Paolini number 6, Luca Cinto is number 7, and David Tani number 8. So there's a whole gaggle of good domestics there who would be team leaders in any other team, now riding their socks off to try and pull back this breakaway group. Martinez, though, who's just been drifting off the Escatella-Escady rider, was very chirpy across a couple of climbs. In fact, he was the one leading up towards Stocco that did a lot of damage to pull back our early leader, who'd been out there for an awful long time, Mark Streel, who started at 7 kilometres and at one point had only 25 minutes before he got reeled in on the Stocco climb after being out there for something like 100 miles. And as soon as he got caught, dribs and drabs the rider started attacking and down through Trois-Points along in by the Amblev River, then back up to the next climb after Sturmont. This little group began to split from the main field. Looking there, that's Den Bakker, the back Martin Den Bakker from the Rabobank team. And I think Bugart is his number 1 man. He doesn't seem to be doing too much work, but it's growing all the time as riders come across towards it. The interesting is who's going to do the work. The Telecom riders have got 2 men in there at the moment, and they, I think, would like to drive this one along a bit, and they're making life difficult probably for the Mappe team, who, Sean, they're riding quite hard, Mappe, but the gap isn't coming down. If you look at the determination here on the Mappe riders, Mappe quick-step boys, the front, they've got to go a bit quicker on the quick-step than that, haven't they?
Well, it's easy for us to say they have to go a bit quicker, but if you can see, you can see the speed they're going here. They're going along at an unbelievable rate, and this group in front is well organised. All the guys are pulling out very near all of them, so they're well organised. And for the Mappe guys, it's going to be a hard ride to get to the La Redoute, and they're going to pay for this. Bartoli, I think, and Bettini, they could find themselves isolated as concerning teammates, and that's always dangerous later on, because there's quite a lot of flat road later after La Redoute, and if you have a teammate or two with you, they can be come in very, very handy.
Well, and there's a lot of big teams haven't showed their hands yet, by the way, because we've got Liquigas Pato with Davide Rebellin in there. They've got Staggerly up in this front group here at the moment, so that's meaning that someone's got to do the work, which will certainly suit Davide Rebellin. I would have thought that he must be seen quite happy there, because he was 3rd last year in the race. They put one of their men up in that breakaway group at the moment, so he's going to be sitting rather quietly too as well, waiting his chance, I'm sure. The US Postal team, we haven't seen much of them. They're led by Tyler Hamilton today. Britain's Jamie Burrow is riding US Postal team, rides 89, is back if you spot him, but Jamie's had a few problems the early part this year, may not be quite fit enough to last the complete distance. David Miller for Cofidis, we haven't seen the red, white and blue colours at all yet. He's wearing 51 in there, and so who's going to start showing towards the back? And we come sweeping round and alongside the river here. Now this is a new run-in. We came along here today, Sean, didn't we? And it just seems to be that much different. Do you think it'll make the charge at La Redoute that bit more easy when they're running on this new route into the sharp right turn of that big climb?
No, I don't think it will make much of a difference. It is a different run-in, but the one from last year was much the same, really. Quite a fast road. That downhill we just
we came across the bridge, didn't we, last year, left and right.
Yes, we came very, very fast downhill, and today is much similar, but just a change in the parcours. So I don't think it will have any great effect. And the Royals, of course, they have been out on the circuit and they know this run-in, so everybody is familiar with this part of the circuit.
Intriguing, Sean, looking at this now, because you were talking to me how important it was to be at the front of the main peloton, and you were saying that probably about 80 or 90 riders would hit the bottom of this climb together. We haven't got quite. We're 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 riders maybe. Is that going to change the shape of the race?
Well, it is going to change a bit, because when you arrive with the peloton now behind, they're going to be coming up on these guys, and some of those guys will lose in the climb, will start getting dropped, and it will be hard to get by some of those riders on this climb. As we said, it's very narrow, especially at the beginning of the climb, where there isn't any barriers. The people will be, they will push into the centre of the road, and it's just almost one per one as you go up the climb. But when you get closer up to the top, there's barriers and there's a bit more room. So it will affect the riders coming up from behind, and for somebody to come across to the first part of this breakaway, it will make it more difficult.
Well, there you are, 2,400 metres it is, the length of this climb. You saw it on your screen then. They got towards it. It gets really tough towards the top of the climb. So what's going to happen on this climb now? They take a bit of a sharp right up here. The road is a bit collie-bus bound where they come through now. It does smooth out a bit, but it gets narrower and narrower as you go toward the top, and a massive crowd there cheering on their favourites. What's the sound like, Sean, when you go up here now? And apart from all the cars parked on the slip road and they're rushing out to see what's going on, what's it like, the atmosphere as you ride as a rider? We'll see it on the screens on Eurosport Live, but how does it grab you as a rider?
Well, as a rider, you're there and you concentrate on what you're doing. You don't really think about the people on the side of the road. You just concentrate on the other riders, the other favourites, and you just get out. And you really don't be too much aware of the people shouting and screaming at the side of the road. Well, we've got an email coming in. Where's David Miller? And there he is, I think, on the right-hand side of the screen. Email came into British Eurosport. It's been sent on my headphones now. Where's David? I think he wears red and white. He's got a crash hat which is perched rather high on the top of his head, with a white peak cap underneath it. And Sean was saying earlier on that the thing to do. Go on, tell us what your tactics were, what you advised David this morning, Sean. Well, exactly as what he's doing, I suppose. He said he was very nervous, and I said to him, just stay in there, don't do anything onto the ladder and just see how you are then, and be in a good position, stay up in the first 15 or 20 guys on the ladder and just take it from there and see what way the race develop. And that's what he's done. And it seems to be him that we got a shot of there. And there's a lot of riders who we haven't seen, of course, because in this bunch, we've seen the Mapes and we've seen the Michel Bartoli guys doing the ride in the front, but there's a lot of guys that hide in this thing, and we will see him from here on in. Well, thank you to that person who sent the email. We can't answer all emails on air, but we did our best then, because we don't get all the names and numbers. We have to rely, like you're relying, on the pictures of the riders, and we can't even see the blasted numbers. We have to look upon them. Like I said, I think it took this David Miller there, because I looked at his crash hat this morning. I saw his little peak white hat showing underneath it. I saw the cuff at his colours. I put my fingers crossed. Later on, of course, if he does get in at the front with the break, we'll either see him or hear on the radio tour where he's got to, but they don't count back on the whole 90 riders. I don't want to disappoint our emailer, but I hope you're now satisfied. It looked like he was there, even if briefly. Axel Merckx in the centre at the moment. I think that's Udo Bolt's the left-hand side for the Telecom team, and Zeberg, the champion of Switzerland for Rabobank, is on the right-hand side, riding for the lads for Rabobank, and I see the green, white and red of Bartoli begin to come forward as well. Rabobank's still looking good there, but up in front we've got that breakaway group of riders, and they're 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth back to the front, Bobby Julich in the green and the white, who said this is his big race of the year and he wants to do well. Well, at the moment he's in that leading group at the moment, but Sean, nobody seems to have erupted from this back group here. They just pace themselves. I mean, they've got to wait for that final climb coming up towards Arm. How would you read it now? It doesn't seem to be very aggressive to me. What do you think? No, well, there's nobody attacking, but I think the tempo is quite high at the moment, and I think everybody is pretty happy with that speed. But I think as later on the climb we'll see maybe some attacks from the likes of Bartoli, and Bogart is very much present in the front. We can see him just behind Merckx. So I think as we go into this time, we have a bit to go yet, so we'll see some of the guys going in the attack here.
Are you happy or unhappy about this, Sean, the number of riders that can get up there? In fact, I think David looks like he's back in just off the top left-hand side of our screen going there. Does this fill you with a good feeling for the future, or is it... now Bartoli starts to go, yes, because I've seen this race in the past. Many years ago, we first started coming Eurosport, a handful of riders would hit the bottom, maybe 20, 30, and by the time they came to the top, there'd be 10 or 15 away, and we've seen the thing ripped to pieces. But now the action is coming here, and just hanging off the back there, the rider from the Liquigas team, Stangelli, if I just get his name pronounced right, I'll read it first of all before I get there, because he's 100 and something. Yeah, it's Stangelli now. He rode rather well during the winter. He was out there riding in Australia and did some good rides there, but he won't put the pressure on because he's waiting for his team leader, Davide Rebellin, to come up. But that little attack by Bartoli doesn't seem to have spritted at all, Sean. Hey, what about that? Look, it's like a club run, eh?
No, it certainly hasn't. He didn't really continue the attack. He just he went from the attack, but he didn't continue his effort. He was looking around a lot, so it's not going to break up this group. And again, he attacked at just a kilometre before the summit. So now we're moving on towards the top of the climb, and I think we'll see a lot of these riders coming back again, because they're not going to lose a big number of seconds, lose 20 or 30 seconds, for example. So I think we'll see a lot of them coming back, and we see the Lotto guys who are on the front now, which were told by Kilkenny this morning they were going to try and blow the thing apart. But I think one rider on his own is going to be difficult to split this field. So we just have to wait and see how it develops over the top. Yes, and Bartoli is going in the attack again. This will create a bit of a gap, but how much will it create enough of a break that we can that we see a split, that the riders won't be able to come back after the climb?
Well, he's having a go at the moment, and the gaps are beginning to open up. One of the riders from the Euskadi time could be David Echeverria, begin to move forward up there. And let's see if it is him coming through. He finished in second spot last year. He switched out of the Once team into the Euskadi team. Certainly one of the Lotto riders up near the front. I'm not getting information off Radio Tour. Are you getting anything, Sean?
No, I haven't.
It's gone completely dead for some reason. We're getting nothing out of Radio Tour. Sorry about this, dear email viewer, and those back at home who would like to know a bit more. We're doing the best we can here. We can pick out some of the riders, not all of them, by the way, but and our screen, by the way, of all the commentary. I'm not making excuses. Up and down here, the great gaggle of languages commentating. We've got the grottish cream of the lot at the moment. I think somebody up there is having its own back on us for something we did, sure. I don't know what it is, but we'll do our best on the circumstances. And this is a long little thin part, and when they got toward the top of the climb, they turned sharp right. And well, what do you think, Sean? Nobody get back?
There's a gap creating here, but it's only 50, 100 metres at the moment, and we see Bogart. He went to the attack. He's pulled over now, and this is Rebellin who is taking on the front, and we haven't seen him as yet today. So there's a lot of guys in here who we haven't seen at all. But I think there will be a very good big group that will come back together after this climb, because there's quite a bit of flat and downhill actually. The circuit is changed over the years, and some years ago it was a bit more difficult after Redoute.
And here we go then.
Frigo and Vignocroft. Actually, Vignocroft, he was up in that leading group. He was one of the guys who came across.
Yeah, we had somebody jumping across, didn't we?
Yes.
Good strong movement. And Frigo, then, I was fascinated reading some of the press comments about Frigo, who's he, for instance. But if you look back over the years, and I said in our previous coverage when we've had him on screen, that he's always been sort of second, third and fourth, and then suddenly he starts to come up and do that great ride like he did in the Paris-Nice, and that seems to give him a lot more of a big oomph. Den Bakker we just seen there, quickly, because Mullenhout just up there in that breakaway group, 257. That's Mazzolini from Taccone Sport Vini Calderona. There they are coming up on his screen now. What's left of that breakaway group that formed and reformed, and now Mullenhout going across. Well, we've seen this before. Remember in the Tour of Flanders when there were a lot of, I won't say unknown riders down the road, Sean, but the group behind kept hovering and looking at each other. Have we like to see the same thing again today, or is that last but one climb going to really destroy them? That one, it's actually the last climb on our schedule here, but 5 kilometres to go. Is it feasible that they could stay away and the rest say, well, we're not bothered about these chaps?
Well, it's certainly not going to be. They're not going to say they're not bothered about those chaps. But when you have a group like this, this number here, it's a nice group. if they get working together and, you know, they keep a gap of 20-30 seconds, it's possible they would stay away. But I think we will see, you know, we'll see a lot of the teams coming back together, and the like of Bartoli. I think, so, you know, his teammates will come back and we'll see them driving, and it will be very difficult for those guys to stay away. And this finish also, it's a hard one for a group. You know, they need to have a nice advantage, 30-40 seconds before they'd have any chance of staying away.
Well, there are those three lads wedged between our breakaways and the main pack. It may come back together, it may not. It's going to be a fascinating part of the race at the moment. Well, looking back here, there seems to be the survivors of the climb La Redoute. When they come back off the top, they swing onto this very wide main road. And Sean, you were feeling this is, I must say, made the La Redoute more negative, but it wasn't quite like that some years ago, was it?
No, the La Redoute afterwards, it was, you know, there was a narrow roads, and now you come down off a La Redoute, you turn right, and it's a big road, so that's made it much easier, and I think the riders will have a better chance of coming back.
Welcome back. We are in Belgium on the 87th running of the Lieja-Bastogne-Lieja, and we are at the stage where we have 25 kilometers just to go. Siandri and Julich rejoining the 6 riders in the escape. It's been a really hard-fought race, this. The pack chasing with 20 kilometers to go. Now watch out for the attack of Vinokurov and Brouillans. Now coming up just before the climb of the Côte d'Issard, Tilman Verbrugge increases the pace, steps on the gas. Vinkorov and Brouillans will try to stick in there. And we're going back to pick up the race live with our commentators David Duffield and Sean Kelly.
Just looking at Zilla, he didn't quite have that. We used to come in to Liège. Now we come up to finish at Arles. We've come through Liège to Arles, but this is a bit that's been put in that the last 3 or 4 years. This little breakaway group here at the moment. Broylan's at the back there. Stangeli for the Liquid Gas Pata team, just on the right-hand side of the screen. Vinokurov in the pink says, come on, it's your turn to come through and have a go. Frigo is up there just in front of him, also having a go at the moment. So this is what else we got I missed out at the moment then? Did Den Bakker's in there?
Yes. Frigo, Manzoli, Den Bakker, Stangels, Vinokurov and Brouillans.
And the gap is only 12 seconds. We saw a spirited effort by Zuller come to nothing to try and close that gap. I seem to remember when he was coming up here a few years ago when he tried to go away, and I think it was in the Jalabert, just put the mockers on him when they came through Liège and up towards the finish line. We've got a much more tricky run in now. We swoop round, coming out away from Liège, dropping down towards what Sean was saying, the scenic part of Liège. And if you get a view of it later on, you'll realise what he said. But whatever you do, don't breathe deeply in, because you probably get polluted. And then we turn and got the final climb. So a lot of riders who know this course are probably just thinking we'll wait for that one, but no, off they go again. Bit of a problem with CSC World Online. Is he punctured?
No, I think that is that not Zulle put up his hand, or yes, it's CNC. But Zulle, he's, you know, started to show himself here, and I think this Tour of France entry is, you know, for those teams, they're another team who want to ride the Tour of France, and they haven't got their automatic choice, so they want to show a bit. And I think it's spurring Zulle on a bit, because when he was at his own say, maybe he was a bit more relaxed. He knew he didn't have to perform to get into the Tour of France.
Well, we just see the Belgian version of the Eiffel Tower on our screens there, painted red and white. I think actually it's one of these big towers for transmission of electronic signals and or electricity. Bettini starts to drive the front. It looks like Andre Tamil has chirped his way into second spot there too as well. So we're seeing lots of riders we haven't seen before. They're coming into the front of the pack now, having bided their time. But just think how many people have been in that group then being sheltered. There's not a lot of wind today, but still they've been having the slipstreaming in the big bunch, and a lot of cracking top names in there. It's going to be a hell of a race to call. Fortunately, they go rather slowly up the final climb. May gives a chance of picking some of them out then. Zuller's come to life again, back into second spot.
Yes, and surprising, Schmill is still there. for him it's a difficult parkour, and he's up there in the front, so it shows that he's still feeling good. And what a surprise it would be if he could pull it off here today in this final, because he's won all the other ones, and this is the one which I think a lot of people most don't expect him to win.
Well, for those who are waiting on Eurosport for your next programme to come up, if we'd been running around about the average speed of 40 km an hour, we'd have finished just a few minutes ago. So we are running behind time now, and we may run into other programmes. So my apologies to those who may switch on and say, well, why have we got cycling on our screens later? It's because we started late this morning owing to a bit of a dispute with some local workers who were threatened with redundancy and wanted to stake their claim in front of the cyclists and all the big crowd to begin with, and that delayed our start this morning, and then it was quite a slowish start as the field is now coming back together again here. And just let me remind you, if you've only just switched on, or those you've been watching our programme throughout the day, let me remind you of what happened this morning when we had, after 7 kilometres, Mark Striel went away. His maximum lead was 25 minutes. He got pegged back slowly but surely until we were climbing up the climb of Stock. I said it's very scenic here. Sean's just pointed out to me, don't take a deep breath, whatever you do. But this is heavy industry. That's where money's made. Muck and money, that's where you make the money. If there's no engineering, there's no people making things, we can't live on tourism and other ways of trying to make a few bob. Somebody has to make something. So, well, one might say it's a pretty grotty part of the world, and Liège is a beautiful city, by the way. It's a shame we don't have a look down there, because it's got a tremendous number of old churches, and it's been a beautiful old town here. With a nice river running through it too, nice restaurants too. I didn't have a chance last night because I got a terrible sore throat, wasn't feeling too well as well, but we're looking down then. Standard de Liège, that's the football ground, so your football fans know it. They go down on the top right hand side of your screen, then turn sharp left. That's the flattest bit of the course now, but yes, this is where money is made, and we all need someone to go out there and make things, sell things, and that way we can all earn a bob or two, whether it's on television here as commentators or whatever it is. Somebody has to make things, and the conditions under which people have worked. I don't know if you've ever been into a steel foundry. When I was at Phillips Cycles many years ago at Smethwick, across the road from us was a foundry. Bang, 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 bang away it went. The dust was unbelievable. You looked into the place, it was like the black hole of Calcutta, and there were people actually in there working under terrible conditions, but they made money, and we've all benefited from it when we've gone into our motor cars made of steel. The people who've made the steel, people who dug out the coal out of the ground, they provide us with things over the years. So not being disrespectful, so I'm just saying this is where a lot of hard work's been done. The hard work now of these riders is right here before your very eyes. They're approaching the toughest climb, in my opinion, of this race, and a lot of blokes still in contention, just about a kilometre and a half away from this very point. Well, they really have strung it out, the speed coming up now for that final climb here, and I don't think, even last year I think there was a little bit of a split in it, Sean, but it does seem to me that there's a lot of people here on the front putting the speed on, and little mountain goats, what will they be thinking now? Well, we've lost Escudé, haven't we?
Yes, well, we have quite a few guys in here. We've around the 50 plus riders, 9Ks to go all together, so we're going to see a lot of action here on the last 4 or 5Ks, and the last 4 or 5Ks is starts to go uphill at about 5Ks to go. We see the Faso Bortolo guys are doing the pulling, so we will see Casagrande. He will definitely go on the attack and try to blow this thing apart, and I think the riders can stay with Casagrande. They will be the guys who will be in the show to win this Lieja-Bastogne-Lieja.
Right then, just sit tight and join us in, I think, certainly, Sean, I've got a great deal of feeling for those riders that have survived this far in this race, and the tenacity which they've ridden, the way they've controlled it, the speed at which they're now accelerating here, their sheer physical fitness to last this race, and now it's going to be really down to the man who's got the best legs on that climb. But let's not forget, once they come up the top of this climb which we're approaching now, there is a bit of a downhill run across the cobbles, and then we turn and even up towards the finish. There's a nasty little 1.5 kilometre drag to face them, and a lot of riders still in contention. There they're swinging round. You'll see lots of flags, by the way, from Italy, because this is where the Italians came to work in the steelworks we've just seen on our screens, and they came out because, oh, well, there's an Italian flag for you. There was no work back in Italy, there's plenty of work here, and the Italian team on the front then. Faso Bortolo begin to do the work now for Casagrande, who was my tip to get it. Can he do it? And can he get up here? Can he split the field? Or can somebody else do what Batini did last year, drive the thing up and make a terrible job? 7 kilometres to go. Now then, Sean.
And we see the Rabobank are two guys here very close to the front. Bogart, of course, he's definitely there, and we have seen Den Bakker, who has been very active. So, and Bogart is, you know, very strong in the sprint. So, if it comes down to sprint, I think he will have a very good chance of pulling off this one.
And still a pink jersey, Welling at the front then for the Telecom squad. And I think that might be Bobby Julik up there in the top right-hand corner too. He went away earlier on with the group that tried to split the thing. He's quite a useful little climber. This is where it gets tough now. This is it when you come around the corner, you think, who the hell put that wall up there? And please can I get off and find the ladder? And that's it. Here they go, out the saddle. What sort of gear would you be on here, Sean?
Well, I think they're on the big ring here, those guys, but if they haven't changed down already, but we see Bogart, is that Bogart who's pulling it out now, but yes, you will have to come off your big ring here. They've been going very fast coming to this climb, so a lot of guys will be in the big ring, but they will, you know, flip it off the big ring quite quickly. And I think about 39, 15, 16, 17, you change your gears a lot because it goes up steep and then it's eased off a bit and up again, so you'll be working the gears all the time.
Can you afford to miss a gear though? Because surely if you just flick and get it wrong, your legs are going to seize on this climb, because you're right, he goes up it, you know, I would say it flattens, but it's less steep.
Yes, well, yes, you hope not to muff a gear change, as they say, because if you do that, you lose a bit of momentum, you lose a couple of lengths, and that's all very important when you're going at such a rate and after such a long race in your legs. You don't want to do that, but you know, it's very, very seldom those guys, you're so used to changing the gears, it's very, very seldom that they muff a gear change.
And here comes Escatelo yet again. They have been firing riders off at the front, and now they suddenly go. This is Spanish territory, and pedaling their way up here at the moment. This is a good move as far as he's concerned. Looking back over his shoulder, the two best climbers for the Escatelo team will be Del Olmo and Echeverria, who was second last year in this race. That's David Echeverria, not Une Echeverria. One's from Venezuela, the rest are all from the Basque Country, but undoubtedly with a name like Une Echeverria, you must have come from the same background as the other Echeverria, must come from the Basque Country, and they've opened up the gap now.
That's Casagrande in second position, so I think we will see him. He will definitely have to make a move, because if he waits for the sprint, he's there he goes, speeding. Yes. Rebellin, I think, is in his wheel.
Damage is being done, and looks like it might be Kamazin from the Lamprey team. Looks like he's hanging on quite a bit at the moment. He must be.
Yes, I would. Yes. I reckon that is Kamazin. Bogart is there also. We can see him in fourth position. Third is Rebellin.
Yeah, Bogart. So Casagrande on the front, still powering up here, and they look like they've done the damage now. But there's still a long way to go. They're only about halfway up this climb, and Casagrande has got to get rid of a few more rides. Can he solo in towards the finish? Is he going to do that though? But he's certainly now making life very difficult for people behind. He looks very calm and comfortable. Casagrande riding up here, I won't say in a relaxed way, but he's certainly making people's legs hurt. Is he going to go all the way, Sean? He's got that one.
Well, you know, at this point, it's difficult for guys to come back. If they get over the hard section of this and they keep on going, but you just never know what way the riders will, you know, react and what way they will pull together. If they ride together when they get over the top, and depending on what sort of advantage they have, but you know, you have some very, very strong men up here. You know, Casagrande, Rebellin, Bogart. You know, Kamazin, we think, so you know, there's a lot of very strong guys up the front here. That,
Sean, when you I think you used to finish down in Liège, down alongside the river. Do you think this is a bit torturous for the organisation to put this sort of climate at the back end of this race? But bearing in mind they've been racing now since they started at just 10:15 this morning, and they will have covered 258 kilometres, 161 miles by the time they finish. Is this masochistical by the organisers?
Well, I think you know, there's a lot of guys say, well, this is crazy having to finish up this climb, but then the guys like the Rebellin and Casagrande, they're going to say, well, this is, you know, this is perfect, because if you haven't got this climb, well, then for those guys, they wouldn't have the opportunity, like we've seen here, to attack and blow this group of 50 riders apart.
But nobody wants to work.
Well, that is a problem. You get a lot of the favourites up the front here, and then nobody wants to do the pulling along the flat, and they end up, you know, getting pulled in by a group from behind, and they lose out in that way.
And Bartoli's not there at the moment, so Mappé must be working their socks off. Well, they did a lot of work earlier on in the race, so perhaps they're not going to come back. Batini, last year's victor, is still somewhere in that pack behind, as we're waiting now for them to drop off the top of the climb, and then as they go down now, they've still got about 1.5 drag up toward the finish. now. Riders here at the moment with Bugart in just sitting doggo at the back, and David Echeverria in the yellowish-coloured, orange-coloured jersey. That's Rebellin with the black shorts, and driving hard at the front. I think that's Camazin, who's now taken over from Casagrande. All these riders know each other, race against each other so regularly. How do you find out, Sean, the weaknesses when you're in this group now? Because they know each other, they race against each other, they've got to the front now. How can you, do you look at this face? Do you think he's spoofing, or do you, how do you sum up the opposition?
Well, they know each other from racing all the year, and you know, those guys like Casagrande who won the sprint, he wouldn't be a match for Bogart, so he's going to try and have a go on the last ramp up to the finish here. He's definitely not going to take Bogart to the finish, and Bogart is just hoping that there won't be too many attacks, and that he can stay in this group, and he can have a very good chance in a sprint of a 5-man group.
Well, Rebellion's got a good reasonable turn of speed, hasn't he, on a pretty good uphill run, because although what 300 metres to go from the finish, it flattens off a bit. Up till then, in the run up toward the finish now, we've got quite a lot of a drag here, haven't we? Yes,
well, you have a drag, but then it starts to level off with a couple of 100 metres to go, and if a guy can hang in there, he just recover instantly, and when it's a sprint on the flat, it's the last 300 metres are quite flat, slightly downhill actually, so it wouldn't suit the likes of a Casagrande. He would rather it was uphill all the way right to the line.
Still going down a bit here. It went just as far as you can see down here, almost becomes some traffic lights and turn left, so it won't be long before we get in that last 1.5 kilometres and that drag there. Are they going to say to go? What would you do, Sean? Would you say, right, left-hand turn, have a go?
No, I think the style of running here, when you come around the final corner and you see the straight line up in front and you actually see the last kilometre, it looks like the finish actually is deceiving, and I think at that point we will see the likes of Casagrande. He will definitely try to blow this group apart and try to go on his own, because as I said again, I think in the sprint he knows that he's not going to beat the likes of Bogart, and even the Rebellin. I think he wouldn't be a match for him in the sprint, so he's going to give it everything to try to get away and risk all.
Well, he's not going about, because look, here comes the cavalry, or what's left to it, by the way, from the riders that start this morning at 196, started out on the 258 kilometres, and we've now got, it must be a dozen riders here, and searching to get a bit more speed to close up on breakaway riders who are still on the top of that drag, looking good, but they can't relax at all, can they, eh?
No, they certainly cannot, and that is the danger here. If they start looking at each other, nobody wants to do the pulling on the front, and they slow down for a bit, and they get swallowed up by the group behind very, very quickly, because they haven't, they can't have much more than 10 or 15 seconds of an advantage.
Oscar Camazin, ex-world champion, wears 141 in the blue and the pink for the Lamprey Daikin team. Just behind him, dropping in the wheel, is Casagrande then, and Casagrande moving across winner of things like the San Sebastian Classic in the past, is now looking to stamp his authority on this race. The orange jersey of Echeverria, who knows what it's like to be beaten in second place. He finished second last year. Rebellin hovering on behind was third last year. That's the fellow in the blackish coloured jersey with the yellowish hat on. Bogart in there, he was second in 1999, so he knows how to come up towards this finish too as well. A lot of knowledgeable riders here about the running towards the finish, and they're all over the place, but they can't ease up at all, because the pack will come swarming around. They're not careful. What a tremendous setup here. So many of these riders have been up there on the rostrum. Who's going to get the first place? 1 kilometre to go, and that's just 700 metres of climbing. The last 300 metres, when they turn left and come round and finish, is flat.
And the gap is 19 seconds, so it's possible they can go to the finish. If they keep it rolling along here, they definitely can do that. But again, you see, there's nobody wants to do the pulling in the front. They're looking about each other, and this is the danger. Somebody come from behind, and they go by at a kilometre, kilometre 2 or 3 more, and that's the
Casagrande going, and interesting, one of his teammates started to come up as well. As Sean was saying, Casagrande's got to blow it all now, try and get rid of everybody with his surge here, because if he stays here longer, he might get to outdistance in the sprint, and Camazin's gone across him. Well, Camazin has been also a forgotten man in recent years, but like many world champions, they get the jersey, and I'm not sure whether he had physical trouble or crashes and what have you, but certainly Casagrande went through a bad patch, but now he looks like he's coming back good again. Camazin is coming back good again, but Rebellin's doing nothing much at the moment in the black.
No, Rebellin is not doing anything, and Bogart is doing less. He's the city last man there for the last 2 kilometres, certainly. Look, he's he's just calculating. He's looking behind to see what's happening, and if he sees the danger come from behind, well, then he will do something. But other than that, he will just wait and just hopefully that they will just stay ahead, and it will come down to a sprint.
Well, watch that red car, by the way. The official red car will be moving along and keeping an eye on things. I think Giovanni, my mate from the common stairs, is in that one at the moment, keeping an eye on things. As it swarms past, that will be because they expect it to be caught. So as long as that red car stays there, they could well stay away. In fact, they might just do it now then. And so Casagrande say, come on, still do some work. And here comes the big bunch behind, but I think they've made it now. Casagrande looks back then in the pink and the blue. Camazin in the orange jersey. Echeverria. Rebellion in black and yellow. Bugart there, the blue shorts now, starts to wind up the sprint. He's been sitting tail end Charlie for so long now. Has he got left in his legs as Casagrande has one last throw of the Dyson, and Camazin starts to go for it too. Camazin starts to go for this one, and Camazin, is he going to get it? And Echeverria comes through, and on the line it was Camazin from Rebellion. Echeverria into third spot. That's how I saw it. Sean, you looked out the window. How do you see it?
Yes, certainly Camazin. Bogart didn't have it in the final number, couple of hundred metres when they turned around the corner. He just hadn't got the legs, and yes, Camazin won it. He was very, very strong.
Well, here come the rest of the ride now. It looks like the Paulo Batini team didn't manage to get the victory now, but the best of the sprint, or the best of the rest, you might say, as he comes across the line then to take that position then. That was Rumsas coming in, and I'm looking through here to see if I can spot Britain's David Mill. In fact, just one of the Coppice riders had just finished, but it wasn't David. That was Guido Trentin of the Coppice team. So David didn't make it to the final selection. He was there coming in towards the back end of the race, but here comes Axel Merckx, who faded also towards the end. So the average speed then just under 38 kilometres per hour. They've been racing for 6 hours and 47 minutes. The clock showing you the gap back to the riders who are coming across the line. And we've just seen Kleinen coming from Duomo Farm Freights. Here comes the riders who were so close. Just imagine just some 10 kilometres to go. They were there. A whole wodge of the Venesto riders, three of them just coming all together. There's Bo Hamburger just drifted across the line for the CSC World Online team. I chatted to him this morning. He was in reasonable form, but I didn't get the impression he was actually going out there to rip the legs off anybody. And there is the rest of the riders coming in one by one.
Rylands, Hepner.
Yeah, so still there.
There's some of the break that we see earlier on.
So looking back then at the sprint, the Camazin, who's now come back in good form.
Yes, and a reshot of the sprint here. We see Bogart, he just hadn't got the legs. He was blown out in the sprint. Camazin was very, very strong, and so, you know, Camazin takes it from Rebellion, Echeverria, Casagrande, and Bogart.
Well, there we are. The field still coming in. The Paulo Batini riders who rode very hard to try and pull back the breakaway, got it all back together at the bottom of that final climb of the day, not the last 1.5 kilometres. We'll look again at the sprint. What do you think Casagrande be feeling now? He gave it all, didn't he? Eh?
Yes, well, he gave it everything. He attacked on a number of occasions, and he just wasn't strong enough to get rid of the guys. They were always, you know, just thereabouts on his wheel, and you know, Camazin was quite active actually, because he went and took Casagrande back on one occasion certainly. But Echeverria, like he did a very good sprint, but you know, as I said, Bogart, I thought he was the strongest, but he just had nothing left in the end.
Look at the match of photographers there at the far side, taking the picture then of the success, as now Yashka's just coming in here for the Once team. Got the one on his back, 71. Interesting number of one is always looked upon as the number of the team leader. Number of riders who are getting the one on their back, like Britain's David Miller did, but it looks like the distance was just that bit too much for him. As Nikolai Bo Larsen just crosses the line there for the. Looking back at the photo finish, no problem there at all. So, bit of a disappointment for Casagrande, but Oscar Camazin now has come back. He's had a bit of a quietish time, really, since he won the World Championship at Valkenburg. That surprised a lot of people, I think, but he's only been sort of knocking off a couple of victories a year since then, but he'll be pleased with this one, that's for sure.
So, the 1998 World Champion, Swiss national champion, Oscar Camazin, then adds this to the list of impressive victories already stacking up on his roster. Well, to win here was one of my major dreams, because in my mind it's one of the more difficult races with the Giro di Lombardy, and once, as I said, I've already won the Lombardy this year, so I really did focus majorly on winning the Lieja-Bastogne-Lieja. My legs were working well coming into the latter stages after La Réduit, and I was a little bit irritated, but I was beginning to get myself under control and focus as we came into those final stages. It was unbelievable that so many riders were still together. I couldn't believe it. So one moment I just looked around and thought, I've got to focus myself, I've got to get myself together and concentrate on what I'm going to do. He did, and he won. Well, back with 3 miles to go and the final stages of that strength-sapping Côte de Saint-Nicolas. It proved, though, to be too tough for the Italian David Rebellin. Well, I don't think it was a hard race, a difficult race. We started very slowly, along with the whole of the team, and we sort of slipped into a very cool rhythm. At the bottom of La Réduit, we were all very fresh, so we didn't think there was too much to worry about, but Saint-Nicolas was very, very hard. The acceleration started there, we didn't, and unfortunately, the race ended as it did for us. Well, back to the Côte de Réduit as Mappé digs in deep with 37 kilometers left to go, but he too is unable to find the response with sufficient force that is needed. This here is coming up what team leader Michel Bartoli thought of today's team performance. The team went well, we worked together, we worked hard, and we worked for a victory. From my own point of view, I didn't really have the legs at Saint-Nicolas. I tried on La Réduit twice, and my legs were responding well. But come to Saint-Nicolas, and I was out of gas. So back to the Côte de la Réduit, and this was the moment that Michel Bartoli made his attack. The legs at that stage, though, answering the call. Well, I was really thinking that I could fight to win, because my legs were beginning to respond, and I had plenty of energy left on La Réduit, but in the last 10 kilometers, the lights simply went out. Well, he won the Flèche Wallonne on Wednesday. Today, for Belgium's Rick Verbrugge, it was a very different story. He was, though, particularly unimpressed with the fact no one was prepared to step forward and stake a claim for victory. Well, the favourites didn't take their responsibilities. I think that everybody was afraid of each other. Everybody was looking over each other's shoulders, looking at each other for far too long. There was plenty of opposition out there, but nobody was prepared to take the race in their hands. And that's really why there was a big pack of riders right up until the last. There we go then. These are the World Cup standings, and there is absolutely no change whatsoever in the top three. Van Steijn, Bortolami and Naven still there in third place. The next event is the Amstel Gold then, and that comes up this Saturday. You can join David Duffield and Sean Kelly. They'll be on course and they'll be live. See you on Saturday.